So I will bite my tongue, tame these emotions.
Hey guys, welcome to the 7th installment of No Small Podcast, and we're talking about the song When. And I see like a lot of fingers on the screen.
They're pointed at you, Sean.
I don't have any, mine are out like this. I'm like Palpatine at the keyboard, which I don't know why we keep referencing Star Wars every episode, but
it is like a trend, oddly.
I don't know.
It's culturally relevant.
Yeah, it's happened twice, so I guess now it's a trend. So this song, this song is an interesting song, comes at an interesting time, as does the entire Taming Tongues record. With everything going on in the world since we released this record at the beginning of March, we wrote the record we wrote it intentionally. I'm not going to say we didn't write it unintentionally, but we wrote it intentionally, Taming Tongues, for what we knew was going to be coming in 2020, with, political mudslinging, as Waltman just said a few minutes ago as we were talking. But holy cow, I don't think we could have imagined the world as it spins right now. So we're gonna dive into to this song. When we were talking about what we should write for When, I remember kind of trying to figure out what is When trying to say. And I think it wasn't until we talked about it, instead of being a statement, when X happens, when this happens, or when this state of mind, or whatever. It wasn't until we decided to write it as when ? As a when will something happen? And so it really for me did not. It really changed the song into more of an angst, more of kind of a, maybe dare I say lament, kind of feeling to it, that really I feel gave the song its emotion. And so in that writing process, it really wasn't until we took what we were trying to say, or took that word that we were trying to write around, and completely changed our perspective on it, that it really changed the outcome of the song. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think about, you mentioned what's going on in the world right now. For me personally, it feels like all of the pain and a lot of the things that are going on, it feels like it weighs you down. And certainly, it seems like everybody is feeling that. If you're a true Christian, you should feel or empathize and feel some of that pain and some of those feelings from a variety of perspectives, right? There's a lot of different emotions that are coloring how we perceive the world in general, but especially around some of the issues that are in the forefront of everyone's mind right now. For me, that feeling of weight was the feeling of the song. And we didn't like, at least Brandon may want to speak to this in a second, but for me, it was capturing that feeling that was universal in some sense. Everyone goes through times where you feel like, man, there's this huge burden and emotional baggage that you have. And sometimes the best thing you can do is cry out, and have this sort of catharsis in prayer. And so prayer is not always neat and pretty, and prayer is sometimes very messy, and sometimes it's about getting things out that you're feeling to God, and He certainly knows those feelings anyway. And so capturing that weight, that burden, that extreme feeling of like the need to cry out and ask and plead of God was what we were kind of trying to do in a way that could capture how a lot of us feel so many of the times, even though we may have individually had some personal things on our mind and heart when we wrote the song. The song itself, I think, really captures that as a general sort of thing. I don't know. Do you guys think that? Do you think it's something that a lot of people could ask?
Yeah, I think that was a challenge. The challenge in writing this song. This song was written around for a very specific reason, a very personal reason within within our family. And the challenge in writing that kind of a song is we were um, we were attempting to dance between two different realities, really. We were writing specifically, and we chose some specific words that had to do with what was happening within our family specifically. But we also had to leave it open enough to be able to paint with a broader stroke. That the song would be able to reach out, and more people could relate to it, because we all go. This song is about a season. We all go through seasons of crying out to God. God, when will this end? Whatever this is, and that can be a lot of different things
Yeah.
for a lot of different people. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to because everyone has gone through it. And some of those seasons are quick seasons, and sometimes like sin, like the plague of sin, that does not end in our life. You know, living under consequences of sin, living under pain and sickness and death. Those things don't get taken away from us until we leave this earth. And so, painting with a broad stroke was a challenge in writing this song, so that we made sure that other people could relate to the sentiment of the song.
What I kind of think about with it, Sean, just as you were talking about that, um, I almost think of it as the specific instance that we had in mind when we were writing it becomes an analogy for whoever else hears the song, and can apply it in a different way. So it's almost like we're talking about something specific, and we'll get into that in a second. But that it's really analogous of what other people are going through.
Yeah, definitely. And we, as JT and I were kind of going through these natural disaster things, the one that we really kind of picked for this was a famine. And we kind of wrote a song way back on the Small Seeds record, about that. But we used in this song, we tried to paint a picture, and we even, with music, the beginning of the song is this wind blowing. I wanted the sound of wind blowing across a dry plain. You kind of hear the wind chimes, and it doesn't feel like a storm. It just feels like a dry wind.
Mhm.
And so, really had that kind of 1930s Dust Bowl era visual that I was working with in my head. Um,
Tumbleweeds.
yeah, tumbleweeds. And so, we tried to use that, I guess, that song furniture, if you will, in those verses. So the chorus was more these longing, big, like, cry out questions that everybody could relate to, but the verses is where we tried to pack in, and the bridge too tried to pack in more of, um, uh, detailing this famine within the first verse, right? We paint this picture um, of tending this field, and it's more than just like not just a garden, but it's a field, right? gardens. My parents put up a garden. They do it every year. We have a little thing in the back. I don't even have to like work at the one in the back. Like junk just grows out of it all the time, like all year round, right? But to, Waltman, I know that your family has worked farms, worked fields, and that's a very tough thing to do. And when those fields don't yield, if my garden doesn't yield anything, I'll just go to Kroger and you know get kale. I don't know. I don't even eat kale, but
I was gonna say you don't even eat kale.
you know what I'm saying? But like if my garden doesn't yield anything, it doesn't really affect me, right? But a farmer, somebody whose livelihood depends on that, or a community that is dependent upon this farm yielding its product, when it doesn't yield, that's a very trying time. That's a very hard time. And we really wanted to paint the picture of that within these two verses. So I don't know. Do you guys have anything you want to add in on that?
I feel like you pretty much said everything at this point.
Not trying.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember when we were trying to pick out like what each song was. I think this was in the van. We had decided that in the van on the way to West Virginia, even we decided that we were going to avoid the whole like the problem of pain and all that stuff with our whys, and so that freed us up to ask a question for once. And so I think in the van is where we landed on like, when will this season end? And so like there's like through the discussion we had like this, like we knew that we wanted the song to progress in a way of like, hey, so like if verse 1 is like sowing in a time of famine, the chorus should be like, all right, well, when will that season end? And so in verse 2 we escalate that even further and we say like, hey, what if this famine isn't a famine? Like what if it's actually a blight? you know it's the Interstellar story. uh,
And,
uh
I knew that was
and
coming.
and you are
yeah,
McConaughey in this.
I am.
Yeah.
And everything's gonna be all right, all right, all
All
right.
right, all right, all right.
But and then in the bridge, if the chorus is asking when is this season going to end, what, the famine season or the blight season, even though a blight is pretty terminal, the bridge asks like, would I still be okay with that? Or like, can I live with that? Can I live with myself? Can I live with whatever the case is? And yeah, I mean, I really, listening to it in preparation for this podcast, I've grown to appreciate this song more because I don't know. There's certain things that I relate to.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
here's the thing. So with this song, I don't know if it's kind of a depressing song if left on its own. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
a couple people have said this is our saddest song.
Yeah, it doesn't resolve. Like I
Right.
think about this compared to Hopebringer, which Hopebringer was on From Small Seeds. If you haven't checked out that album, make sure you do. Shameless plug. But no, so Hopebringer, is a declaration of God's goodness in the midst of that pain, in the midst of what you're going through. This song does not do that. This song is more of a true cry out to God with no resolution. So you may say, well, where's your turn in the song? Where's it bring it on back to Jesus, as it were? We don't really do that, but you know what? That's very biblical too. I mean, there are a number of psalms that do that.
Yeah, Psalm 44:23, I think, is pretty much the where that chorus is derived.
Yeah, so look, here's one thing, just as a quick word here. If I could just give some encouragement to somebody that's listening to this, whatever you're going through, if you're going through pain, if you're going through trials, the worst thing you can do is bottle that up and keep it from God. Like if you're going through some sort of frustration or you're going through some sort of confusion and you're trying to figure out how to deal with it, you might you might keep that from other people, and okay, whatever, but do not keep that from God. God welcomes our honesty, and so that's sort of the first step to healing and recovery, I think, is to come to God with an honest heart and say, God, I am going through this terrible thing and this terrible feeling, and I'm angry, and I want to lash out, and I want to deal with this in a way that maybe is not the most righteous way to deal with it. So that's how I'm feeling. And I don't know what the solution is right now, God, but this is where I'm at. I just want to talk to you about it. So I don't know. I just want to encourage whoever's listening to this, that can be a first step. And with this song, don't listen to this song isolated. It fits within the whole proverb that we're giving there with the album.
Yeah, I really didn't want to resolve this song because the song doesn't set itself up for a resolution, really. If you listen to it, the song gets way more increasingly desperate as time goes on. So that first verse is, talks about this sowing into a field and setting up and doing the planting and waiting for the harvest, and it says, things aren't changing, God. They kind of seem the same, right? And then it kind of busts into that chorus, and that chorus is probably one of the most, not that our other choruses are fake, but like one of the most like real and honest choruses. And it kind of was painful to write that, because you really feel, sometimes I feel like, the chorus should just be more worshipful, like more like glorifying to God. But like, being honest with God, I think, is glorifying to God. um, and it's okay. It's okay for us as human beings sometimes when we feel that way. It's not cursing God. When it talks about Job, there's no way, that Job was like, yeah, cool, God, thanks, this is awesome. I mean, to me, this seems like a Job kind of chorus. Like, hey, God, where are you? Because it seems to me like you're asleep. It seems to me like you're not listening, that you're not paying attention to what's going on. Now we know that he is, because we know that God loves us, but that doesn't mean that sometimes in our own human nature that we don't question that, because we all do. We all go through those seasons. And then, that verse 2 really escalates into the last part of that verse is, now I'm screaming when. Like, we use words like desperate and then screaming, and that's how that really elevates in that second verse. And then, Josh and I, when we were talking, JT and I, when we were talking through that songwriting book, I write bridges a lot. I'm a bridge designer. Okay. Like, all of my songs are like islands. Okay. So I have to have a bridge to get off the island. But
No man is an island.
yeah, but this song really lent itself to a bridge, and it's not that the bridge doesn't take it in another direction. The bridge really ramps it up even more. And man, like, this bridge is just insane with what's going on right now. That, in what we were talking about, is we've gone through this wanting change so bad, to so desperate to see things change, to the point where, you know what, fine, burn it all down and I'm going to walk away. Not that that's necessarily after it was all burnt down and scorched. And I was thinking about this scorched earth, right? It's not that we'd feel better after that, but sometimes we get so desperate and down to the point where, you know what, I'm ready to just burn it all and walk away. Step back from this scorched earth and just walk away. Thought I could have it all and leave a legacy. And, this song isn't written from somebody living in sin that God's just withholding the desires of our heart from. This song is written about good, holy, righteous desires that we long for, that are biblical, that are God honoring, that we know God wants us to have, but we're not seeing it, and we're not getting it. And so it makes us long, and then it makes us desperate. And we, you know, really, like in that Job moment, we wonder, we come to a point where we're so desperate, we wonder, does God even care about me? And this song is written for people that are in that situation, that are going through that. So Brandon, you haven't talked. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, so I'm really happy that we got to say all of these things before, like, I kind of say what I wanted to say. Like, I'm really happy that we were able to just kind of communicate that this song isn't about just one thing, and like I've been blown away. One, the response to the song, and two, the fact that like it speaks so broadly, even though it does have a personal pointed meaning, in some ways, but and the personal pointed meaning is actually pointed at me in my life, and so my wife and I, Chelsea, I love you. We've been dealing, yeah, we've been dealing with infertility for somewhere well over 3 years, and it's just been one of those things that's really weighed on us, and has been a roller coaster, as I continue to say, of emotion, of dealing with hope and disappointment, and it wears on you, and originally that was kind of one of the kind of concepts for this song, just because it was something that we were dealing with, and asking, like, when is this season going to end, and when will we be parents, and why isn't that happening, and if you didn't catch the legacy reference, like, yeah, I want to be a dad. I would like to leave a godly legacy with children, but I don't know if that's in the cards for me, and that's okay. I have to be okay with God's will. But through all of this, November of 2019, close to when we were finishing writing this record, my wife and I actually met a couple that has been going through the same thing, and it really helped us and really opened our eyes. And I think for a while um, we were embarrassed, or maybe, I mean, not ashamed, but like we were embarrassed to talk about it, and like our feelings and all of that. And when you're going through this, and it's difficult to relate to, it's difficult for other people to relate to who aren't in it. And I mean, these four guys these three guys are literally like our brothers, and like we're all family, and they've been incredibly supportive, incredibly graceful, in walking next to us, alongside of us. But we met these people that were going through the same thing, and it was like, I don't know, it was almost like the scales fell from our eyes, and we realized that, like, infertility is like this thing that so many people in the world deal with, that most people don't even think about, that, like, whatever you can, I mean, not that there are stereotypes, but just there are so many people out there that deal with it, that you would think that wouldn't, but they do, and it's just one of those things. And so it was really helpful to know that. But like, what I want to say is, anybody watching this, if that's what you're going through, uh, know that you aren't alone, and know that, like, it's okay to talk to other people about it, and to even reach out. But that's just really helped me. But again, just to see this song, once we finished writing it, just to be painted with a broader stroke. I mean, I listen to this song now personally, and I know the personal meaning behind it. But man, it applies to other things in my life too, other seasons that either we've gone through, as a band, or maybe other guys in the band and their families are going through. Like, it's been a song that has helped me in more than one way. So I mean, I'm grateful that you guys let me put that in there a little bit. But yeah, I hope this song speaks to people, and maybe means something to them and helps them in some way, because it's helped me.
Yeah, I remember speaking at church, on a passage that I was given to do for a Sunday, about Paul being in prison, and there was a sentence. It was just like two sentences. It was actually one sentence, where it it skipped from one point in Paul's life to the next point in Paul's life, where he's being transferred from the prison that he was in, and then going to Rome to appeal to Caesar. And that sentence was that it was like 2 years later, and it you can just skip over that and read that in a split second and not stop to think that, like, man called by God, missionary, doing incredible work, an apostle, right? Wrote half the New Testament. God just kind of leaves him in prison for a couple years. And you're like, what in the world? And I remember asking the question in that message, what happens when God, when God doesn't give us the desires of our heart in our timing? And these are good things. It's not like, oh man, it'd be nice to have a Ferrari. Like, these are good, holy desires. Not that you're an unrighteous person if you own a Ferrari, but I don't know, maybe.
What about jumbo jets?
Uh, um, but I remember it was that message that I specifically started thinking about, Brandon, you're what you're going through, and thinking about this song. And that's really when this song changed from a when statement to a when question. And it really changed the dynamic of the song. It really changed the emotion of the song. It changed the feel of the song. And I remember coming to you and asking you, hey, I think you should write this song. And so we all went to West Virginia and kind of bounced off some of the working ideas that you had, and formed what this song was. And I'll tell you too, we do not write, when we sit here and analyze this song like this, we analyze it when we're writing it, but this is the full circle moment. It didn't happen back then.
It's like a surprise. It's like unwrapping a gift every time. We're like,
yeah, it was like we did.
Man, how did we like intentionally do that? I mean,
Yeah, because it really wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't intentional and we wasn't purposeful, but like, until we actually wrote it, it came out, and we're listening to it, over and over again, that we really start to see how the song plays out. And this song is really an Abraham and Sarah. It's where it's this time of, are we, when we're tempted to step out and do things our way in our time apart from God's time? Because when you get desperate to see something happen, is when you get tempted to step outside of God's timing. And Brandon, I appreciate you being real with that. That's the first time we've ever talked about it. We did a Taming Taste Buds album release where we went through the songs, and we didn't even explain this there, because it's still
Raw.
Yeah, and it's still fresh. Yeah, and still is. And that's the other part of the reason why I didn't want the song to resolve, is because this season for you, for our family, is still not resolved. And so so that's what this song is about for us. And just know that whatever you're going through, that you're not alone. You're not alone in that.
So we should probably talk about the musical approach to the song now.
I was gonna say, can we have a bit of levity here?
Yeah. So this song, that beginning lick, that da 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 da, that part.
Was that the Star Wars theme?
Huh?
Was that the Star Wars theme?
Yeah. So that was probably one of the earliest. That was probably one of the earliest guitar parts that I wrote. And I really wasn't even writing it for this record. This is before I think we were even had dove into even attempting to write this. And this song was crazy because this is one of the ones we started with, and that riff almost didn't make it into the record because we kept trying to shove it places. we kept trying to put it here, there. It was the
It
chorus.
was a chorus for the longest time, and we're like, it just does. It don't sing.
It don't sing. And it wasn't until we just kind of used it as like a riff, as a lick, and then built around that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brandon. That that the song took form. So
I agree. It wasn't until we viewed it as like an intro to something that it was like, oh, that makes more sense now. It just like popped in. It worked.
Yeah, I gotta say that the melody for the lead guitar during the verse sounds so good.
Don't start with me, JT. JT was in the studio with me while we were writing that, and he was like, "Hey, this would be kind of cool. Why don't you do this?" And sure enough, that's what stuck. And so now he lords it over me at every possible time. So
That's right. I wrote the guitar part for that, so I'm gonna claim that one.
Thank you for gloating.
I guess the other bit of trivia for this song is that if anybody has seen us in the past year or so, we did like a revised version of Teethbreaker, just giving a little pizzazz, switching things up a little bit. So we decided that we liked the ending that we wrote for Teethbreaker, and we shoved it into this song. And so I guess we can't play the revised version of Teethbreaker now.
We stole our own music.
Yeah, we ripped ourselves off. So if you thought that it sounded familiar, you were right.
yeah,
Is it the same key though?
It's a different key.
No, it's
Oh, okay. I mean, it's the same. It's the same.
I loved like when we played that show that one time, and we used to be in an old band back in college, and for Small Seeds, we Hopebringer was one of the songs that old band had, and we kind of took it and revised it a bit, and we played it, and this guy came up to us and he was like so mad. He was like, "How dare you steal X band's song and play it?" And we're like, "Hey dude, like that, we were in that band, we wrote that song." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I had no idea." I was like, "Yeah dude, that's that song. We're just just different name, 8 years."
I forgot about that.
And he's like, "Oh, okay, well I guess it's all right then." I was like, "Yeah, it is, because we own that song." So, but yeah, we redid. We always kind of rob from our own songs and put into this. So, all right. Well, appreciate you gentlemen joining together tonight. Dearly beloved, we are together tonight. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we end this in the only possible way we could end this episode?
Yeah, I just want
I
to say
do
that
have something mean to say.
something mean.
Don't worry about it.
I was gonna say that I'm really impressed with Josh Rollman's beard.
enjoy it while you can.
It's a pretty good quarantine beard.
It's a Corona beard. Pretty sure my work's not going to let me keep it.
Tell him it's a it's a souvenir from.
Well, all you got to do is if you grow it long enough, you just put it behind your neck and put it up into your hat, and then they won't know it's that long.
They won't have man buns either.
Something Nazarite vow. It's fine.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say that was mean, or you were just joking around?
I was making a reference to something. Don't worry about it.
It's in
Mike will get it.
The ends define the mean. And on that note, you guys ready to end this?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. When
Will
this
I told you it wasn't gonna work all together. There's a delay.
no one can do anything on time. We're
All
musicians.
right, you ready? When? That's what you did.
I thought you were gonna
When
count it.
will this